Hey there, and welcome. This is the 11th episode, believe it or not, of the Xamarin Code Hour. This is the show where every week on Tuesday, except for last week and here and there where I missed them, where I do a live presentation, hopefully with people coming in real time and chatting with me and giving me a hard time. This is on YouTube, and you'll notice up here there is XamarinCodeHour.com got a new URL for this show, so that's new and exciting. Another thing is minor change UTC -5 here in our strange part of the world. They have this daylight savings time thing where it messes everybody up and makes things complicated. So UTC -5 is now the new 9 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Eastern Savings, I don't know, whatever. UTC -5 now. So last episode we did the hamburger menu in Android, and we got it all working at the last minute, and it was very cool, and it was working, but lots of improvements to make. And among other things, we lost the ability to have a calculator, which was kind of the point of the entire app. So this time we need to get the calculator back and implement some of the additional pages. To do that, we're going to do navigation. Navigation in Android and navigation in iOS are similar in some ways, but actually there's a lot of differences. When we get to Xamarin Forms in a future episode, that'll be yet another way of doing navigation, but it's worth knowing how things work under the covers, because when abstractions fail, as we all know that they do, it's really good to know how things are actually working under the covers. So, without further ado, let's get into some code. All right. This has actually been 2 weeks since I have gotten into this code, so let's just see if we can remember. Let's just see if we can remember, well, if I can remember what it was that was happening last time. So this is the wrong application, and with any luck I can start this up into the correct application. Onto the Genymotion Nexus 5. Nope. Got a new Genymotion emulator going on here. This is the API 23 device, so it's a little bit older, I believe. Uh-oh. And we're going to get problems already. It's too early in the show to have problems like this, but that is what's happening. Okay. Well, this is one of the problems with a live show, my friends. Sometimes things go wrong, and this is how actual real-world debugging is. So let's try closing up Genymotion, and let's just start this again. In the meantime, I'm going to try and fill some dead air here by reminding everybody what happened last time. So we had a page adapter, and an adapter is the controlling class that tells a table view how to display its data. So here in this page adapter, we have a RecyclerView, and a RecyclerView is the control on the page, which is in control of a list, and you can swipe up and scroll through all of the items in it. And it's the pager adapter that the list view, or in this case a RecyclerView, uses to retrieve its data. And so this is the core of what we were doing last time. Once you've clicked the hamburger menu and it pops out from the left hand side, and then there's a list of pages. So this is the place we're going to start, and this we borrowed largely from an example application which was in a Xamarin examples website that I showed, and that was actually taken from the Android docs directly. So actually this all originates from Android code, and it feels a little Android-y. It doesn't feel very C-sharpy, and part of my complaint about it is this interface. And 225, let's zoom in a bit for everybody who's watching this on a mobile device. How's this thing going? Oh boy, it is moving slow tonight. So we'll just start by digging into code. Worst case, if we have to, we'll go onto a physical device. And speaking of which, maybe I'll install Visor, V-Y-S-O-R, which I should have probably installed a long time ago. Visor is a really nice application for being able to remote control your Android device from being able to remote control a physical Android device, like I have right here, and display it on your PC, which is really good for demos. So this may be our plan B if Genymotion is not working very well for us tonight. Oh, it actually started up. Okay. Boy, it's still being a little busy, being a little buggy. Try multiple things at once, simultaneously. And then I'm going to try and deploy to the, oops, no, not deploy to the HTC Desire. The HTC is an older Android that I have sitting around for debugging, and I'm going to cancel that build because I'd really like this to be deploying out to the Genymotion device. The benefit of that Genymotion device, as I've mentioned before, is generally it's going to compile about twice as fast. It takes a lot longer to compile down to ARM instruction sets. The x86 instruction sets that the Genymotion device uses is going to be a lot faster. And I've turned on Visor on my HTC Desire. I'm also simultaneously building on Visual Studio and trying to get any one of these multiple different techniques to work. Oh, something worked. Yay. Visor will pull you back up again later. For now, what we have here is a very simple hamburger menu with fancy animation over there that comes from the built-in APIs, and I could just watch that animation over and over and over again. How about you? So standard, scientific, programmer, and date calculation, those were all strings. The very first thing I'd like to fix up here is this should really go all the way down to the bottom. That's bothering me. So let's look into that next. After, oh yeah, we did that too. But one thing at a time. Let's fix that left-hand menu. And that happened not inside the PageAdapter, inside the constructor for the PageAdapter down here. We asked for a myDataset, which would be, really should be called PageList, or maybe just pages. Datasets. No good. That should be called pages too. Okay, we've got our pages. This listener, I really don't like this. We'll go and fix this later. But for now, the PageAdapter, I just did Shift F12 to find usages, and we're back here in the main drawer activity. And in the main drawer activity, which is the activity that you navigate to when you open the app for the very first time, we have this list of page names here, and to move this into the ViewModel. Now's a really good time to do that. Let's do that. again, the problem here is that this is all Android specific code, and we're going to want to port this over to iOS as well. So let's move this over to the portable class library, our shared code, and we should have a view model for the calculator view model, the view model base, and we'll need one for I'm going to add a new class, and this would be a view model. This is like the left nav view model. It's kind of, I guess it's kind of a view model, it's kind of not. Maybe we can find a better name for it, but for now let's call it the main drawer view model. It works. Public class, and let's inherit from the view model base. Looks good. Did we, can you guys remember, did we do inversion of control? I think we did. Calculator view model. How does this get instantiated? Do we have, I don't think we did it yet. Let's just stick with manually instantiating it. And we'll worry about dependency injection later. So there's nothing terribly wrong with instantiating it yourself, as long as you still maintain the ability to inject your dependencies for unit testing. That's a lot cleaner. Okay, main drawer view model, main drawer view model, and now it would be really tempting. It would be really tempting at this point to use a static string, and I just, anytime you use static, you're doing it wrong, and you'll discover as soon as you try to unit test this where the problem with static comes from. And if you read that that book called Legacy Code by Michael Feathers. Michael Feathers, he also has a talk that he does, which is a fantastic talk. I highly recommend. It's called, and I'll add it to the show notes, but it's called Michael Feathers and the Deep Synergy Between Testability and Good Design. Yeah, this one on Vimeo is good. Here, I'll add this into the show notes. But this guy, Michael Feathers, is kind of classic guy, and he describes so nicely in this 15-minute talk about why, if something is hard to unit test, it is probably poorly designed. And if something is testable, then it is probably well designed. And he goes on to explain a lot of specific examples of things that are hard to test and why they're poorly designed. And I just found this extremely compelling, and part of this you'll find is if you are trying to unit test static things, you're going to find that it's hard to do. So that's why we probably have a public string page names, calculator view model. No, for that we're trying to move this out of it. Let's just try and do one thing at a time. So page names, public string array, or I don't know, list is, I guess, a little bit more, I don't know, I don't have a strong preference. Page names, and it's a property perhaps, and equals new list of string. Yeah, how about that? And again, the big benefit here is we'll be able to move these over into, for now, we'll be able to move these over into the iOS world. We'll be able to share that, at least share the names. So if you change the name in one place, it'll change in both places. But we'll take this a step further later. We're just trying to implement the beginnings of good practices here, and eventually we'll be able to start doing on-click and move the navigation into the view model and move a lot more stuff into this view model. This is just a starting point. So got this view model. Now we need to be able to get the page names, and the page names we get from the view model. So let's do that. We need to get a view model, and I'm just going to put it in the constructor for now. I think that would be an okay place to do it for now. Private, this is the main drawer view model. Main drawer view model. We'll just call it view model. View model. I don't know. Is it? Well, it can be just a. It doesn't need to be a view model. And let's just set it here in a constructor. There's probably a constructor down here somewhere. No? No constructor. Okay. Well, never too late. Tor view model equals new main drawer view model. Like that. And this would be dot page names. And that's complaining because the PageAdapter takes an array of strings and we're pasting a list of strings, and really all we needed this to be was an IEnumerable of strings, I think. I think we can go with the more generic case here. Oh, I see, we're indexing in, but I think we can index in with, a list too. Is that going to work? Yeah, that'll work. List of strings. We do an iList, I guess. I don't know. We're never going to add to it. Maybe this is an unnecessary change, but it just seems a little cleaner. But I just can't help going through here, cleaning up ReSharper a little bit. The view holder can be made private. Yeah. Can it? Oh yeah. Yeah, the view holder is an internal class. Yeah, that can be made private. Okay, I'm fine with that. And text view should be called text view with a capital T? Oh, because it's public. Oh, is anyone actually using it? No. Ugh, I hate all this code. I hate it. We're gonna have to fix it all up. But yes, rename it to capital text view. Or rename it to text view and make it private. Now this is going to complain. I guess if it has to be public, we'll make it text view capital T, and that would be more correct. Okay, capital text view equals, come on now, let's call this text view. I'm so pedantic about this stuff, but just can't help myself. Like V is just such an abomination of a variable name. Private. Oh, we fixed that. This should be public now. Yeah, we don't need to say it's an object. We know that. Okay, we've done a lot of cleanup here. ReSharper has turned this green, which just it's one of those little things that makes me so happy once ReSharper turns things green. Okay, let's. Is that enough? That's enough for a commit. I'm gonna hit F5. I'm gonna try to deploy this. We'll see if this works. Divisor ever? Divisor never. Oh wow, this is deploying fast now. Or not. Okay. There. Nothing changed. Yay, nothing changed. Wonderful. Hurrah. It's a commit anyway. Commit. refactored page names into a ViewModel, main drawer ViewModel. Right, so yes, we added a main drawer ViewModel. Our main drawer ViewModel is very simple. It just has a list of page names. Our PageAdapter now has a list of pages. It has, let's see, text view, a view. Oh, this was our adapter. This is just getting resharper, cleaner, and switching it out to a list of string rather than an array. And then in the main drawer activity, just a little bit of cleanup. We instantiated the ViewModel, and now we're passing in the ViewModel page names and PageAdapter. Yeah, and that was some cleanup. Okay, that looks good to me. But the thing I said that I actually wanted to do, so that's one to-do down. The thing I said I wanted to do was to fix that left nav. Now, let's see if I can remember where the left nav comes from. I believe, let's see, we should probably have a, if we go into the, not in the assets, the resources folder, we should have a layout folder and the navigation drawer. Does that sound right? The navigation drawer is the left-hand drawer. It's composed of 3 things, if I remember correctly. It is on top, it's a hamburger menu thingy, and that its first element needs to be the left menu, and its first element needs to be the content area, which is the main page, and then its second element is the table view, the recycler view, which is going to show when you open up the hamburger menu. Oh man, everything's going so slowly tonight. We're going to get there. We're going to get the navigation is the key element here. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that. Yay. I just wanted to see the code. Here we go. Yeah, so when I described the hamburger menu-y thingy, that actually meant the drawer layout. Its first element is a frame layout. That's the main area that we throw data into it. We throw content into it, which I believe are fragments. We're throwing fragments into it. And then the recycler view is the list of things on the left-hand side. Okay, there we go. And I think the thing that's bothering me is that this recycler view has a height of match parent, which again, match parent means there's 2 main types of height and width. One is wrap and one is match parent. And match parent says full height, or in the case of width, it'd be full width of whatever it's contained in. So it's like sort of expand. And I think what's bothering me about this, I think we want a background color here. Android background color, no, background equals, let's take a look inside of the individual items, because I think we want it to be the same as those items. This is the, mobile calc. Yeah, we want it to be the same as the background for those things rather than clear, which is what it is right now. So if we open up the drawer list item, we should probably have a color specified here. That would be a lot cleaner. Let's do that. Don't we have colors? Wow, this is, who put this together? I don't know how far I want to get off. I don't know how far if I want to get off topic. All right, someone chime in. Should I get off topic and use the colors, make it colors.xml? Put in some named colors? No one's saying anything. I'm not going to. I'm going to be lazy on this particular case, so because we're already almost halfway over the show, and I'm worried I'm not going to get the navigation in. So if I hit F5, actually if I just open this up in the designer, that designer's terrible. All right, hang on a second. All right, where were we? Oh, there we are. Okay, great. So I hit F5. We're deploying. So the very next thing we're going to do is implement the navigation. Get that calculator back up. Oh, there we go. Doesn't that look so much better? All right, yeah, we need to be able to click on standard and how to do something. So let's do that. And I think we're going to have a discussion about fragments here very soon. So let's just call that a commit. Fix left nav color. Commit fresh. Yes. Yeah, I guess that was the main change there. I didn't change anything there. Yeah. Fix left nav color. Okay. So now that we're getting back into code, I want to do more refactoring, but let's make sure we at least get in the calculator and get that back again. There's going to be a little bit of work to do that. So the magic here happened again in the PageAdapter, and the way they implemented this was they had a okay, the PageAdapter was instantiated with a list of pages and an OnClickListener, and that's what we care about right now. And the OnClickListener is an interface which is defined up here, this interface right here. So the adapter says, when you instantiate me, I know how to display pages, and I want you to pass to me an interface that I will invoke when someone clicks it, which isn't, it's just not very, it's not very, I don't know, it's not very .NET-y. Using an interface and callbacks like that is just a little bit weird. I think what would probably be cleaner is to pass in, is to either have an event and have the event be subscribed and unsubscribed, or because this adapter already knows about pages, it should just automatically navigate into the page, and it should be passed in a list of page names and activities to invoke. And I think that's where we eventually want to head, just to give you a big picture of where we're going. For now, let's just investigate a little bit further. So this listener is going to, oh, and this I strongly objected to. So when a item in the list view scrolls into view, we subscribe to the text views on click method, but we never unsubscribe. So this is a pretty big memory leak. This is very objectionable to me. So I want to address that problem. And then what did we do? We passed in to the OnClick. I need some water. I'll worry about it later. Okay. Pass into the OnClick the sender and the position, and then that goes back out to the person who instantiated it here, and we just passed in an instance of this. which, man, anytime you see this, there's something wrong. But in this case, this, we instantiated the main drawer activity, implemented its own version of OnClickListener, which has an, like, was it an OnClick or something? OnClick. And so here's the OnClick, and so OnClick, it's calling select item. God, that name is capital S. Come on, people. Sharper's not working for me at the moment. Select item. And then, okay, and so what is this doing? It's instantiating a new fragment. Let's do this. There's so many things that I want to fix, but I think right now the first thing to do is to convert the existing main activity, what used to be called our main activity with all our buttons, our calculator, all of that. I think we need to convert that into a fragment and then display the fragment in that main area, which was the content view or whatever it was. So content views can only contain fragments, and so this ultimately needs to change to a fragment. And this planet fragment, I don't think we want this. I think we want to delete that. I'm feeling pretty good about getting rid of, what is a planet fragment? Let's delete planet fragment. We don't want this. Yeah, it's just cruft from our copy and paste job. But what we do want to do, at least for now, is we want to instantiate a new one of these. And so we'll say new main activity, which, let's call it main, let's call it standard. It's not even an activity anymore. It's a standard calculator fragment, standard app compat activity. We'll just call it a fragment for now. That's going to cause some problems, right? Because fragments don't have onCreate; they have a different lifecycle name. Maybe before I deleted all of this, I should have reviewed what we had there previously. The main drawer activity, new instance, onCreate view. Oh yeah, onCreate. Override on create view, and yeah, that's where we do initialize the startup service. Actually, we've got a better place to put that. One thing at a time. The ViewModel. Oh, hey, we did a service locator. I forgot we did that. All right. All right, while I'm thinking about it, the main drawer activities, convert to service. I forgot we implemented a service locator pattern. Okay. So that goes into here. Oh. So then we'll return view. I don't think this is actually correct. content view get views. Did those have a set content view? They had a, oh, inflator.inflate. Oh yeah, I remember. Okay, fragments inflate views. So we need inflator.inflate, and then we're going to pass it that XAML file, and oh yeah, and we need to pass in container and attached root false. That should be right, and that is the main view or whatever, root view, sure. And then we're going to return that root view. So return the main view. I guess we don't need to set content view because that's only applicable to activities, and fragments use a different technique for instantiating XAML files and retrieving them. Okay, I think we're close here. We don't need to call base. And there's no on pause and on resume. There's something similar. I always have to refer to this diagram. There's a really nice diagram, and I've mentioned this before, the Fragment Activity Lifecycle, developer.android.com, and they've got a nice picture, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. Fragment is on resume and on pause. Okay, so that's what we need. On resume and on pause. Oh, wait, that's correct. No? What's wrong with on pause? Cannot change access modifiers. Oh, you want it to be public. Okay. Can do. That's an easy one. So that one's public on resume. Okay. That's good. Close. Oh yeah, we can't find view by ID. I think we need the root element. This will be a view root element, and then we can say get view. We need to pass it the main view, which is a main view. Change type of parameter to a view. Yeah, do that. And now we've got a root element. We can say root element.find view by ID, because we're no longer doing that off of ourself, because we aren't an activity anymore. We're a fragment, and we're getting our main content from this resource file. Okay, we're really close to being able to instantiate our standard calculator fragment, and to do that, we're going back to, what's that? Oh, select item. We renamed that. Select item. Okay, there we go. And we're going to ignore position right now. We're just going to, how do you instantiate a fragment? There's a Fragment Manager, I believe. It's going to, they just instantiated theirs. That doesn't seem right. I swear there's a Fragment Manager. New. Can we just do new? Main standard calculator fragment. fragment, guess, and then we're going to we're getting the Fragment Manager from this activity, because each activity contains a Fragment Manager, and that is an instance property of all activities for managing fragments. You can have multiple fragments for an activity. And then we want to, oh yeah, there's like this, I don't know, there's a long API that's necessary. You have to begin transaction, and then you replace resource.id.contentFrame. That is, the content frame was the thing inside of our activity. Let's view code. Oh, there we go. So much faster. Inside of the drawer layout, that was layout? Content frame. No, the content frame was our frame layout here, content frame. So we're saying take this thing here, which is the same thing as, well, you'll see it's the main big content area there, and replace it with this fragment that we just instantiated. We have to begin the transaction and commit the transaction for some reason, and this will call hello world. So it's annoying. And then we're going to close the door. That looks good to me. That looks good to me. Okay. And oh no, do you think this is going to work? So, once again, quick recap of where we are, because that was a fast and furious coding session. We have the page adapter. The page adapter takes an interface that it defined, our main activity, the main drawer activity, instantiated that interface, and it implemented its onClick event. So the onClick event was then, when you tap, gets called. It goes into selected item. Selected item then manages swapping out the content in that main content area with a new fragment, because we're allowed to swap in and out fragments, but we can only have one activity at a time. So with any luck, oh wow, I can't believe it, that actually worked. Oh my gosh, look at that. 85 plus 3 equals 88. Wow, can you believe that? That's pretty exciting. Okay, that's a commit right there. Converted the main activity to a fragment, and we converted the main activity to a fragment, and on click / on init, we swap in that fragment into the frame layout. The frame layout called content frame. Whew. Okay, that's good. Now let's see. There's still a lot of cleanup to do. One thing that bothers me right off the bat is the name of this guy. Standard calculator fragment. We should move this. Control-Shift-R. We're going to move this to a folder called I actually think this goes back into views. Into view. Even though technically it's a fragment, they're all kind of views. So main drawer activity. Where'd it go? Standard. Oh, it renamed it for us. Very nice. Yes, just like that. Standard calculator fragment. Renaming main activity into the views to match class name, and moved it into the view folder. And so let's see, that's one thing that's bothering me. I think before we go too much further, we should really have a second one, which is we can't say this is working until you can actually click and swap between different things. Oh, that's killing me too. Okay, I gotta fix that. Got to fix that. That is in layout. Oh, main.xaml. We gotta change that name. That's killing me. Oh. Okay. Main.xaml. We're going to rename this to activity navigate to standard calculator fragment. This is fairly typical for Android to name underscore things and call them underscore fragments or underscore activities. And I'm just going to go with the flow. I don't like that naming convention, but it's idiomatic. Open with just a text editor. Text editor. Thank you. Okay, and actually that's enough. And now in the main drawer activity, there should be wait, not main drawer activity. In standard calculator fragment, it's going to complain here. Yes, that should be called standard calculator fragment. That's good. Okay. Yep. Sure. Oh, we got to remove that resource designer out of source control. That's annoying. So many things to do, so little time. Yep. And yep. And yep. Okay. Stage all. And you'll notice here in source tree, it looks like that's an add and a delete, but I bet you once we commit it, that's a rename. Yeah. Git is really smart about renames. That's not a source tree thing. That's actually a Git thing. And and this was killing me. This was the failed experiment from like 4 episodes ago, where I was trying to convert this into an image view, and like it just wasn't working. It's really ugly, and so that's good enough for now. Reverting the button. Okay. Yes. Reverting the button. And now, I don't know what that was, but now let's do at least one more of those. So we want a standard calculator fragment, and I think we want a, I don't know, programmatic. Let's open up the Windows one. Standard scientific. Oh, that looks hard. The programmer. You know, I would be tempted to try and do the currency one next. The the thing about the currency one is that we're going to actually hit web API endpoints to implement this correctly, because we want to get the current currency to convert from dollars to euros. And so I think this would be a good one to do. So let's do the currency converter. I'm not going to do it this episode, obviously. In fact, we may implement this in Xamarin Forms, but let's just make sure that we can get some navigation going around. So to do that, we will need a new layout. We'll call this a new from template class interface structure, new item, and this will be a fragment, and no, this will be an Android layout, and we'll call this the currency calculator fragment. Man, so slow. No, I didn't want the IDE. And let's keep this real simple. And linear layout, text, what's it called? Label, text block. Oh, I've got all my UIs mixed up. This is a label, right? No, this is not an entry. What are they all called? Standard calculator fragment. Oh my gosh. No, wait, I didn't want to open it like that. Sort, standard calculator fragment view code, text view. Gosh. Yeah, sure. That all looks good. Oh, and text is we'll have two of them. We'll have it, one with dollars and one with pounds, euros. I don't know how to make euros. How do you make a euro? Euro symbol. Copy, paste. Problem solved. Okay, so we'll know that this worked if we see 0 and 0, and so now we need another fragment. We're going to call this, we're going to put this over in views, and we'll call this add a new class is good enough. I mean, it's technically a fragment, but whatever. We're going to call this the currency calculator view. Oh man, I'm calling some things activities and some things fragments. They should really all be called view. They should probably all be in the order view. It just seems cleaner. Who cares whether they happen to be a fragment or activity? It's just an Android specific construct that no one cares about. You know, I did that wrong. I think to do this right, I should have made this implement from the v4 version of Fragment, and I bet I made that mistake in the this guy. Yes, I did. That should be there. Okay, now we're using you would have known this. This would have been a problem if I ran this on an older than like API 22 or something. If I ran it on API 19, for example, then I would have gotten a runtime error. Okay, So we're using the correct fragment. Now I need to do something very similar to whatever I did in the standard calculator fragment. Here we're just going to do an onCreateView, onCreateView, and then we want to take our inflator and inflate the what is that? The resource.layout our new currency, and we need to pass it in this guy, the container. And do we want to attach to the root? Usually false. I can't remember the details of what that means right now. Root view, return the root, and that's enough to get started. And now we need to be able to instantiate that currency calculator view, and we're going to do that in the main drawer activity in that onClick. I gotta do some of this while I'm thinking about it. This should be _ DrawerLayout. Oh, it's not gonna let me do it. Alright, fine. Well, at least let me do little things like that. But that's not what we're doing. That's not why we're here. Oh, and that one should be read only and _owner. Come on. _owner. Oh, good. Okay, running out of time. Got 1 minute left. I'm going to go a little over as usual. This will be the Xamarin Code Hour and Change on prepare options, on click, selected item, and here we need to take a look into the position. I don't like this at all. This needs a to-do. Don't use the position, instead pass in the activity to on click. Yeah, the fragment, not the activity. The fragment to instantiate on click. I think that would be a lot cleaner. It would solve a lot of problems. But for now, we're going to say extract method, get fragment. We're going to pass in position. Yeah. And I don't like this code, but we're running out of time here, so if position is equal to 0, then return else, return a new currency calculator view. What's that complaining about? Cannot implicitly convert to, oh, because this is just a fragment. What's wrong with that? Cannot impose to, no, it's not, it's a v4.fragment or whatever. The transaction.replace with, what? This one's a, I think I want Fragment Manager, support Fragment Manager. Haha, there we go. That's cleaner. So, there's just so many little things that I forget to mention. Like, there's each activity has a Fragment Manager and a Support Fragment Manager, and if you are guaranteed to be running on the latest devices, like with a lot of support stuff, then you use the Fragment Manager, but if you're trying to support older devices, then you use the Support Fragment Manager. So that was the problem with the mismatch here. This was like argument 2 cannot convert from a support fragment to a regular fragment, and so I was like, well, you can't just cast it. The problem is we're using the wrong Fragment Manager. We needed to be using the Support Fragment Manager. So thus Support Fragment Manager, and I think this will be enough to work. This will be good enough for one episode, and hopefully we've learned a little bit more about fragments and a little bit more about how to swap in fragments and swap out fragments on click. It seems like this episode went really fast and I didn't get accomplished nearly as much as I would have liked to, but I don't know, hopefully you learned something, and hopefully, I don't know, you had fun here. This compilation is happening. We've got output directories going out to API 23. I suppose what I should probably be doing is deploying this to an older API level just to verify that the support fragment stuff works. And that would be, I mean, that's like best practices before you call anything done. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to commit this, and that is we implement a new currency calculator view and use that when we click on anything other than the standard standard view on the left nav. Yep, so we still got that. That's good. And now if I go down to the programmer, oh yay, dollars. And if I go back up to the standard one, there we go. Look at that. Woohoo! Cool. And 8 plus 3 equals, woo, 11. All right, I think that's exciting for a show. We've got I don't know what that changed. That was just a little cleanup. This is in our main drawer activity. When we select an item, we don't just instantiate the standard calculator view, we get a fragment. We've got a method here called getFragment. It tries to figure out which one to get. We're going to have to flesh that out a lot more sometime. Clean all that out. Yep, that looks good. The standard calculator fragment. I'll use the v4. Yep, that's good. And here's our new calculator fragment, which obviously needs a lot of fleshing out, but proves out the point. Okay, that looks good to me. Push changes. All right, well, we've done it. Completed another episode, this one being episode 11. And I don't know about you, but I'm thinking about doing something a little different for the next one. I'm thinking about maybe doing a presentation that I did last weekend and doing it here live to you all. That would be a presentation on Windows, the Windows Raspberry Pi running to a Raspberry Pi, deploying to a Raspberry Pi via Windows IoT. That's the Windows IoT, introduction to Windows IoT. So many words. Eventually I got there. So thanks for bearing with me. Hope you had fun this week, and as usual, I guess I forgot to mention there's this awesome Siren of Shame device, and if you have a continuous integration server, you should totally have one, sirenofshame.com. Thanks for bearing with me this week, and I hope you learned something, had some fun, and I hope to see you again next week. Please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. It helps a ton, and I will talk to you later. Have a great week. Cheers. Oh, it's one of these buttons. Here we go. There's the hang up.